Hey everybody, Charles here. Welcome to Backroads Living. In this video, we're going to talk about a stimulus package, this newest stimulus package, that the president said was a disgrace. And we're going to try to figure out why, it being a disgrace, he went ahead and signed it Sunday evening into law. So hang in there and we'll get right on into this video. The first thing we want to look at is some of the what's called pork that was put in this stimulus that the president said was a disgraceful proposal set before him, and we're going to try to figure out why he called it disgraceful. Well, the first thing that I want to look at that was mentioned up toward the end was that the American people are going to get $600 apiece in this stimulus. It's a $900 billion stimulus package with extras that added up to over $2.3 trillion, I think. And the American people, you're going to get $600 out of it. Yay. Now I know there's going to be other things said about this video as I go through. People's going to like or dislike some of the things I'm going to say. But I'm not giving an opinion in this section here. I'm just giving numbers. There's nothing I can do to help it or hurt it. It's just what it is. But $600 is $600. That's all it is. You know, for some people it's not even a house payment. For some people it's a house payment. For some people it's a car payment or a truck payment. For some people it might buy a half a month's worth of groceries. For others it could buy a month or two, depending on the situation. But a one-time payment of $600 is just about as big an insult as I have seen anything come down the line so far. But anyway, that's what it is. And Congress, the spokeswoman in Congress said she's felt that it was a very good deal to give $600 to the American people, and apparently the House Speaker felt the same way because he jumped right on board with it. And that's why I don't play politics. We don't do this Republican Democrat stuff. We just don't do that. Those of you that follow us regularly know that we're not a Democrat or Republican. We're followers of Christ, and we just give you what we see, and then we'll weigh it against the Word of God and go from there. But anyway, we have a $9 billion COVID-19 relief package, and in that package we were offered, or not offered, it was said that the American people would get $600 one-time payment out of that, which I guess that beats nothing. It's almost nothing in comparison to how much money is there, $9 billion. But anyway, let's look into this package just a little bit, because when you break this package down, you're going to see that probably 60% or more of this $900 billion is going to go out of the United States to foreign countries. It's not going to stay here. It's going out of the United States to foreign countries. And there'll be 40% or less that'll stay in the United States. And of that 40%, there'll be a whole $600 go to the American people. I know there's some stuff in here for businesses, and there's some stuff in here for other things that's supposed to help homeowners and renters and stuff like that to extend these programs. And those are all good things. It's all good for that kind of stuff. But in comparison to the amount of money that is being printed out, $2.3 trillion, or a $900 billion stimulus package, the amount of money that's being put toward this stuff is just peanuts. It's like nothing, absolutely nothing. in comparison to what all this other money is. And that's what we want to look at right here today. One of the things that Congress did was give all themselves a pay raise out of this, a 1% pay raise. I know 1% don't sound like a whole lot, but when you scatter that all over Congress and everybody else that gets their fingers in it, it ends up to a lot of money. It says here that an estimated $3.3 billion will be going to Israel, $500 million for the Israeli military. Now, I'm not against helping nations that have the ability to help us back somewhat. I've never been against that, but $3.3 billion going to Israel. $453 million will be sent to the Ukraine. Now this is millions of dollars. This isn't thousands of dollars. This is $453 million going to the Ukraine. Why? Nobody says why. We don't know why. It's just going there. Who's going to get it? Who's actually getting the physical money out of this? We don't know. $130 million for Nepal. Who's getting that money? Where's that $130 million being deposited at? We don't know. $10 million to Pakistan. Millions. $10 million to Pakistan. $1.3 billion. Now this is not million, this is billion. $1.3 billion to Egypt, whom the president himself said that if that money was sent to Egypt, that they would buy weapons from Russia. It'd be spent on military weapons from Russia. That he just couldn't have that. Well, it's going to be going there. $1.3 billion to Egypt. $700 million to Sudan. $700 million to Sudan? Who gets that money? I mean, who handles the money? Who distributes the money? What's it being distributed for? $135 million to Burma. What for? $85.5 million to Cambodia. What for? See, nobody asks those questions. Nobody knows. Nobody knows who's getting the actual money out of this and how it's going to be distributed. $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion for the Asia Renaissance Initiative Act. We really don't know what that comprises of. I went over and read up on it a little bit, and it was enacted in 2018, but it still doesn't give a real good definition of what it is, or how it's being used, or how it's going to benefit America. But one thing they're going to do is get $1.4 billion put into that act, so the question still remains, who's that money going to, and who's going to be distributing that money for what? How's it going to be managed? Who manages that money? We don't know. We just have to read through and say, well, this is going here and that's going there, and we don't know who's going to be managing it. We don't know how it's going to be managed. We just know it's going places. They tell us where it's going. And if there's not enough tax money on the table, they just keep printing it out to send it out there. So let's see what it is here. While the U.S. government has forcibly shut down hundreds of thousands of small businesses across the nation, the new bill approves $896,615,280 for the U.S. Senate to buy new furniture. The Senate's going to get new furniture out of this, and the American taxpayer is going to get $600. But now the Senate's going to get $89 million to buy new furniture with and update the Senate. Boy, we love our government, don't we? I'm telling you, we want them to be and live in style. When they meet in the House, we want them to sit in the finest that they is. Yes, my friend. It don't matter if we get kicked out on the street or not. We want them to have something nice. $2 billion for the Air Force's missile procurement, $2 billion for Space Force, and $4 billion for the Navy. $65 million to restore salmon populations. $65 million. Well, salmon must have really took a hit, that's all I know. Wonder who's getting that money and distributing it for the salmon repopulation. Huh. $208 million to upgrade the Census Bureau's computer system. Now, the last I heard, there's not going to be a new census till 2030. This is 2020. There's not going to be a new census for 10 years. but we're going to spend $208 million to upgrade their computer systems that they're not even going to be using for 10 years. Wonder who's getting that money and distributing it. Wonder if it'll need another upgrade before 2030 gets here. Who knows? We just don't know. $35 million for police community relations improvement. For police community relations improvement. $35 million. Who's getting that money? What is there like a special group put together to work this, or is there what is that? Police community relations improvement. What branch of Congress or Senate or where does that go? That money for that? Who's over this? Who runs it? Who manages it? That $35 million. $710 million. Now you'll like this. $710 million to provide Syrians with weapons training. Yeah. $710 million. That's a lot of money. But don't worry. The American people are going to get $600 out of it. That's nice. Alright. Now, they always do this during the holidays. They always do it. These big packages, these big bills, they always come around Christmas, Thanksgiving, any of these holidays like this where everybody's wanting to leave the House floor and the Senate floor and get home to their families, and they always push these things through like that then to try to get them signed because people don't want to take the time to read them and take the time to fool with them. And anymore in today's society and the Congress and Senate we've got, they don't read them anyway. They just write them up and sign them and scoot them on out to the president, and he does like this one's done. They fuss and fume for a day or two over it, and then they turn around and sign it, and it just goes right on through. They're all the same. They really are. It doesn't matter whether you're for Biden or Trump or Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell. It doesn't matter who you're for or who you're backing. They're all the same. They all get together and they're all big buddies. That's just how it is. And they all do this stuff. They all agree on it. And they all get together on it. This is just pathetic what's going on here. It was a 5,500 page document that was given to the Congress and to the Senate, and expected them to read it in 6 hours, between 6 and 8 hours. 5,500 pages. What kind of foolishness is that? That's what we voted in office, and that's what people keep voting in office. But at any rate, that's just a handful of the things that's going on with the money. There's money being millions of dollars to the Kennedy Center that's not even open. There's millions of dollars going to open a new women's art facility of some kind, or for that's not even doing business right now. All this COVID stuff has everything shut down, and these places aren't even open for business, most of them. And they're wanting to send, whether or not just wanting to, they're going to now because it's been signed. They're going to give them millions of dollars. Well, who manages that money? See, that's what you need to ask your congressman. That's what you need to ask your congressperson or your senator, is who manages the money that's going to all these places. The problem is, we as the American people have become slack in our responsibility, and we've just let these people run things the way they want to, and do the way they want to do with whatever they want to do with. And nobody has held them accountable for it, and nobody ever votes them out for it. They just pat them on the back, and they pat everybody on the back and talk real good to them and lie to them through their teeth, and then they go ahead and do what they want to. And that's what it's been for years and years and years and years, and they've all been in the same bed together. But let's go ahead and look at this just a second. So why did the president sign this? Now, he gave reasons, and we're going to look at his reasons and dissect them just a little bit. Right here is President Trump, as you see there. Trump signs a $2.3 trillion relief and spending bill. Says more money to come. Okay, we're already 20-something trillion dollars in debt. If you add the bonds to it, that's not counting bonds now. That's just the debt of the country. But if you add all the bonds into it that we're in debt for, you're over $100 trillion in debt. And then now they say more money to come. Where are they going to get that more money? Oh, they're just going to open up the printer presses. But it's printing right now. It's printing just fast and print it. They're burning the barons out of these printers, printing money. And it is going to cause inflation. We will, in my opinion, I've read several articles about this, we will see hyperinflation this coming year. That's how it's going to affect us as preppers. We got to be ready, buddy, because if we don't, we're going to get hungry. We've got to have our households ready and be ready for this thing to come, because it's going to hit hard when it hits. 2021 is not going to be an easy year for us, or for anybody else for that matter. And we need to make it as easy on ourselves as we possibly can. And I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to tell you these things and show you these things so you'll get ready for it. You need to be ready for this stuff. Now, whether you know Jesus or not, you still have to live in this body, and you still have to provide for your body. You still have to eat. You still have to, to wash. You still have to do these things. And the only way you can do it is if you look ahead and prepare for it in these times like this. Now, that being said, if you don't know Jesus, the most important thing you'll ever do in your life is to find Him. Because without Him, you really don't have that hope and assurance that a follower of Christ has. Because the Spirit of God gives us the spirit of peace and of a sound mind. And it's not a spirit of fear. We have not received the spirit of fear. And we don't walk in fear and operate in fear. And I'm not operating in fear by telling you these things. I'm saying these things so you'll understand. I'm saying these things in the hope that you'll see that there is a problem ahead of us, and that you're going to have to get ready to meet that problem in some manner. And the better prepared you are, the better you can get through it. So we don't know how long this is going to go on. We don't know how long it's going to last. At this point, I don't think it makes any difference who's elected president. I don't think it makes a bit of difference whether it's Trump or Biden, because I see no difference in what they're doing, or what he's doing and what Biden wants to do. It's all going to boil right down to the same thing. We have a president that is pushing the Moderna and these things. He's pushing them just as hard as he can push them, wanting credit for them. It doesn't matter to him. He just keeps funneling money into them so he can get the credit for it. That's all he cares about, is getting credit for this stuff. Give me credit. I'm the one that done it. I'm the one that done it. Let it be wrote down in history that I'm the one that done this. I'm going to reserve my thoughts right there just for a second. So let's look at it. On Sunday evening, President Trump signed the $2.3 trillion pandemic relief and spending bill after reaching an agreement with Congress over stimulus check section 230 and voter fraud, the White House said. Now, how did he reach an agreement? It was a verbal agreement with the Congress. A verbal agreement with Congress. Now, buddy, I tell you, that's binding. That is real binding. Trump signing the bill, which includes a $900 billion COVID-19 relief package, means a partial government shutdown is now averted, while financial aid for Americans will be delivered. $600. You're going to get it now. As President of the United States, it's my responsibility to protect the people of our country from the economic devastation and hardship that was caused by the China virus, Trump said in a statement. Well, let me say this, Mr. President. If it's your responsibility to do that, then what you should do is put the people back to work. Because that's the only thing that's going to help the country. And I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail in just a second, too. I am signing this bill to restore unemployment benefits, stop evictions, provide rental assistance, add money for PPP, return our airline workers back to work. Yeah, let's do another big stimulus here to bail out the airlines and these big multi-million-dollar companies that mismanage their money and go bankruptcy. And then let's just bail them out again every time they spend all this money frivolously. Add substantially more money for vaccine distribution. Why are you adding more money for that? Why aren't you adding more money to the people? See? Nobody asks these questions. Nobody confronts these people over this stuff. Everybody just sits back and claps their hands. Oh, look what we're doing. Look what we're doing. And much more, he said. He added that more money's coming, and vowed to never give up his fight for the American people. This comes following a delay due to Congress's failure to meet Trump's demand to increase stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000 per person. Trump had repeatedly expressed dissatisfaction over what he described as wasteful spending in the bill while Americans continue to struggle due to pandemic lockdowns. Well, let's look at the pandemic lockdowns just a second. It was the president who initiated the emergency order that gave governors the power to become dictators. And from that time to this, there's not been one thing done to remove that or to correct it. We've had an attorney general that has sat on his laurels and allowed the governors to dictate like kings and overlords and overreach their authority, break every rule, law, and the Constitution, and he sat on his hands and did nothing. And they sat there and said, well, we're just going to let them do what they do, and if things fall apart, they're going to take the blame for it. Well, let me ask you this. What good does it do to place blame when people are starving? What good does it do to place blame when people are thrown out of their houses? What good does it do to place blame when millions of people become unemployed? How does that help anybody when you just by placing blame? This is guilty and that was guilty and that one was guilty. No, it was that one that was guilty. How does that help anybody? Politicians, that is exactly what they do. They avert the truth. They change the truth into a lie, and they start pointing fingers and blaming everybody else but themselves. And they try to pit everybody they can against each other. And that's what they've done with the American people for years and years and years and years. All these politicians have done it. They're all guilty of it. But anyway, let's move on a little bit further. Although the bill passed by both House and Congress earlier this week was sent to the White House on Christmas Eve, Trump did not immediately act on it, but instead renewed his pressure on lawmakers to revisit portions of the omnibus bill and to increase direct payments for Americans. The president said Sunday that along with signing the bill, he will invoke the 1974 Impoundment Control Act to demand recessions be made to the spending measures. Under the act, if the president wants to spend less money than Congress provided for a particular program, now listen to this, he can seek congressional approval to rescind by sending a special message to Congress identifying the amount he proposed to rescind, reasons for it, and the economic effects of the recession. Now he said this is part of the reason he signed that bill, was because he was enacting the 1974 Impoundment Control Act. So he could send a request to Congress asking them not to spend so much money. And then they have to approve it. Boy, I tell you, they take us for fools. This government must really hate the people, I'm telling you. I will sign the omnibus and COVID package with a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be removed. I'm going to sign this package and I'm going to tell them they need to take this stuff out of this package. They need to move this stuff out. I will send back to Congress a red line version, item by item, accompanied by the formal recession request to Congress insisting that those funds be removed from the bill, he said. He's going to ask Congress to remove those things that they put in that package. He don't like them, and he thinks they ought to take them out, and by golly, he thinks they're going to vote them out. Just because he asked them to. Because he reached an agreement with them. And they wouldn't lie to people. Well, you know the Congress wouldn't lie to the president. Nor to the American people. Well, my goodness. When did the Congress ever lie to people? I don't know. Trump also noted that the House will vote to increase direct payments to $2,000 per person and $5,200 for a family of 4 on Monday, and that the Senate will also start the process for a vote. Again, this is just on their word. Now, if it happens, that'd be good, that the people will get more money. But again, this is just all hearsay from the president, because it might happen and it might not. He's met with people and he's talked to people and they've said this and they've said that, and you know, who knows how many lies they've told, and who knows how many, anything about it. Nobody knows what to do. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi urged the president to immediately call on Republican lawmakers to stop blocking legislation to increase the direct payment checks. But her statement was silent on actions regarding alleged voter fraud and legal protections under Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act for internet companies that have engaged in censoring or political conduct. See, this was another thing that the president was wanting taken out and changed. Because he wasn't going to sign this if they didn't. That was what he said. He wasn't going to sign this bill with all this stuff in there if it wasn't changed. But none of it got changed. None of it was changed. It was still laying right there on his desk just like it was when it first came. And it looked like it, just like it did when he read it the first time, when he signed it. Nothing was changed. The only thing changed was he said that they said. I hope you understand what I'm saying. He said that they said, and they said that they would do this stuff. And if we, the American people, believe what they say, I'll let you be the answer to that. Let's go on down here. Congress has promised that Section 230, which so unfairly benefits big tech at the expense of the American people, will be reviewed and either be terminated or substantially reformed. So who determines what a substantial reform is? The Congress. If it's not removed, they will determine what a substantial reform is, and that could be as little as nothing. Because they'll be the one determining it, the ones that wrote the bill to start out with. Let's see. McConnell didn't mention a vote on the 230 Act about the censorship of social medias. So we're looking at a package that's already been signed into law. The money's being printed. It was probably already printed before it was ever signed because they knew it was going to be signed ahead of time. The majority of the money is going to foreign countries. Billions, literally billions and billions, trillions of dollars actually, not just billions, trillions of dollars will go to foreign countries. This is supposed to be a COVID-19 relief act for the people of the United States of America, and over 60% of it so far that's been found in this 5,500 page stimulus bill, over 60% of it so far has been seen that's going to go to foreign countries. And who knows how much more is in it and where it's going. And nowhere in this stuff we read did it say who was in charge of the money that was being sent anywhere, or how it was going to be distributed or handled, or what people was going to get it once it got there. It was just going to certain places and they'd say it was going to be for a certain thing. But nobody knows. Nobody has any clue where all that money goes. There was lots of money got missing in the first stimulus bill that nobody ever found, and people just quit asking about it. So if we think this one's going to be any different, I'm sorry for you, because it's not. This Congress is the same Congress that passed the first one. This Congress is the same Congress that's been in Congress for 50 years. This Senate is the same Senate basically that's been in Senate for 50 years. It's the same kind of people. It's the same kind of politicians. And we're still in the same place we've always been, at the foot of the rung of the ladder. And if we think that we're included in their fun and games, you are sadly mistaken. This is going to affect me and you. It's going to affect our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren. The money that they're printing right now and sending to all these foreign countries that's being wasted, it's going to fall on the shoulders of future generations. We're going to see times in 2021 like we have never seen. I believe that with all my heart. Yeah. People talk about civil wars and things like that. We've had civil wars going on in the United States for a while. We've had a civil war going on ever since the two-party system began. because these people pitted the people of the United States against each other politically. There's been a political civil war going on for years and years and years and years. People hating each other because one was a Republican and one was a Democrat, or one was a liberal and one was a conservative. They've taught people to hate each other. People go to church and they'll go to a Baptist church, and they'll go to a Methodist church, and they'll go to a Pentecostal church, and they'll go to a whatever church it might be, and they all huddle up together, and this one supports the Democrats, and this one supports the Republicans, and this one supports this, and this one supports that, and then they'll sit there and they'll vilify each other, and they'll talk trash to each other, and they'll handle language like you've never heard sometimes. Spew out the hate, the worst hate you've ever heard sometimes, right out of the church houses. And then tell me that politics is not here to separate and divide people. Don't get caught up in their games. They're not in this for you. They only use you. You're going to get $600 at the least, hopefully. Maybe $2,000 if Congress keeps to their word. And I don't care if they send me anything or not. I care less. We didn't get the first one, and not looking for a second one. We work and do the best we can, and we rely on the Lord God of heaven, the maker of the heavens and the earth, who owns it all. He's our supplier. We depend on Him. We do what we can do to the best of our ability, and we rely on His blessings to provide for us. And that's what we're going to continue to do, and we're going to continue to speak the truth as we see it and understand it. And right now, the truth as I see it and understanding is that we're in for a hard road ahead, because none of these people, the president-elect, the sitting president, the sitting Congress, or the sitting Senate, none of them care for the people. All they care about is themselves. And when things come and times get hard and the people start suffering terribly, they're going to be sitting in their big penthouses and their big mansions, taking it easy. Yep, that's what they're going to be doing. And you and I are going to be grubbing out a living the best we can, just like we do now. But anyway, if you enjoy our videos, give us a like. If you haven't subscribed to our channel and you like our content, we'd ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would help us tremendously, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And as we said in the beginning, or not in the beginning, but as we got over in the video a little bit, if you don't know Jesus, then you certainly are missing out. For He is our hope and our peace. We find our hope in Him beyond all things. We find our peace in Him beyond all things. Because He said, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but I have given you the spirit of a sound mind and of peace. And that's where we find our soundness. That's where we find our peace, is truly in Jesus. So God bless you all, and I hope that we see you again. I hope that you come back and visit us often. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next video.